Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG, and this will be the first one going live in 2023, so Happy New Year to you all. Well, at the end of another week, and the end of another poll, we've got a very slim win for Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 1, for Earthdawn, funnily enough. So we'll have a look at that on the tabletop in a wee second, and as usual, I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel related stuff, and some other poll related stuff. I hope to see you there. You could be a Scottish laird. Under an ancient Scottish law where anyone who owns land in Scotland can use the title of laird before their name, a law which actually doesn't exist. But what the hell, I'm willing to assign you a piece of my garden in the lowlands of Scotland and offer you a printable certificate to use the title of laird. Just join our Patreon at the laird level, choose a section of my garden, and then you can be a laird of Scotland. See my Patreon below, where you can get access to my videos a week early, help the channel out, be credited at the end of videos, and stake a claim to a tiny little piece of Scotland. Offer has no standing under law. Offer does not give you any real rights to part of my garden. Offer does not really make you a landowner. Offer is no different to all other Scottish title offers out there. So, this is Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 1 for the Earthdawn role-playing game. It came out by the FASA Corporation in 1994. And the first thing I'd like to comment on is the name. Now, in Earthdawn, the world is called Barsaive. Much like the world of Forgotten Realms is called Toril, the world of Dragonlance is Kryn, etc., etc. Barsaive is the world that you're on in Earthdawn. And many sourcebooks use that in their title. So there's things like Arcane Mysteries of Barsaive, the Adepts of Barsaive, etc., etc. There's a few. But the Denizens books are Denizens of Earthdawn rather than Denizens of Barsaive. I just find it odd that they changed the way the titles work during the releases of the books. Now, this book is one of two, Volume 1 and Volume 2, which cover the 8 core species of Earthdawn. This one covers the Tiskrang, the humans, the Windlings, and the Elves, because some of these species are very, very different. Because Earthdawn is actually a slightly different world, because it's come out of this apocalypse, basically. Magic levels got so high that magical creatures called horrors invaded the world, and everybody had to go hide underground. Now, obviously, the best species adapted to living underground were the dwarves, because their cities were there already. So the dwarves pretty much survived this apocalypse untouched, and the world is very dwarf-centric. And the other races are survivors. The people who survived I believe it's like 100 years underground, in what they called cares, their fortified cities. So the other species are very much in the minority compared to dwarves. And some of these species are different. You know, elves are a species very much on the wane, which is similar, but humans, while they're adaptable, aren't the dominant race. Tiskrang and Windlings obviously pretty unique to Earthdawn. The Tiskrang especially I absolutely adore. But anyway, let's have a look at the back cover. The Name Givers. The 8 name-giving races of Barsaive form the heart and soul of the land. They share many experiences and beliefs. They have their own cultures and traditions. Each race is unique, and together they breathe life into the land of Barsaive. Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 1 provides an in-depth look at 4 of the name-giving races of Barsaive. The Tiskrang, flamboyant reptilian beings whose swashbuckling bravado reflects their zest for life. Humans, versatile enough to learn the unique skills and talents of every race, they adapt quickly to any situation. Elves, beings of deep feeling and spirituality, they seek to restore their culture's former glory. Windlings, small winged beings whose passion for change makes them mischievous and unpredictable. Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 1 describes the elves, humans, Tiskrang and Windlings in detail and provides race-specific disciplines, new talents, and special rules for playing each race. Heavily illustrated, this fascinating and invaluable reference is for Earthdawn players and gamesmasters alike. Now, if we open it up, we can see that it's standard FASA publishing, you know, the sort of quality that they had for Shadowrun and obviously other Earthdawn products. Very nice artwork throughout. Now, looking through the writing in this, we've got Tom Dowd, who did amazing work on a number of Shadowrun things. We've also got Mark Gascoigne and Carl Sargent, amongst other ones, I'll name them: Louis J. Prosperi, Shane Lacey Henley, Sean R. Rhodes, and John J. Terra. Unfortunately, I don't really know much about those other authors, but Mark Gascoigne and Carl Sargent did some fantastic work in British role-playing. They did the Judge Dredd role-playing game, lots of work on Warhammer Fantasy roleplay, lots of stuff with Games Workshop. So it's really interesting to see them involved in a game which is completely different from Dungeons & Dragons, in the same way that Warhammer's very different. And we've got the content pages here on the writing of the denizens of Barsaive, the remarkable history of the Elven people. So, to live in it as an elf since the corruption of the Elven court and its power. These segments are written from the point of characters within the world. There's comments from other scholars, but most of it's from within the world. We've got things here of the Blood Elves. The Blood Elves are a branch of elves who survived the horrors because they discovered that as long as they were in constant pain, they couldn't be possessed. So they cast enchantments on themselves, which had thorns grow out of their skin, and they're in agony all the time. They are bleeding, they've got these thorns sticking out of them, and that has changed the way they think. Although they weren't corrupted by the horrors, they've been corrupted by being a race in constant pain. Carry on through, a discourse on Elven spiritual beliefs, on the meaning of age, on the meaning of hours, what it's like to be a race which is so long-lived. We've got different paths for them to take. We've got some colour plates here. The page opposite's on Elven rituals. We've got some colour plates showing the elves. We've got the blood elves here with the thorns growing out of them. The blood charms. The rituals of passage. The 2 rituals of marriage. Going out throughout their culture on rituals associated with death. Of the Elven arts and crafts, on the noble art of painting, because they are a more artistic species than most. The most noble art of dance, on the arts magical, on the unique beauty of the Elven language. Of course, the elves themselves think a lot of themselves. On the telling of stories and legends, how the ever-living flower came again to Wormwood. Some of the tales, where the elves of Barsaive dwell, of elves and other name-givers, so their relationships with the different species. Of true elves and blood elves, so the schism between the 2 parts of their race. Then we've got an essay on humans, on the common beginning of all name-givers, on the versatile nature of humans, general nature and ways of humans, on marriage and child-bearing, human spirituality and other beliefs, their view of death, their view of passions, on the places where they dwell, and diverse and unique human cultures. So it's going into the Barsaive part of it, but obviously you don't need a guide on how to play a human because you are one. So it goes through origins and daily life of the tribes, going through different cultures within the Barsaive world, the strange history of the Scavian people. And then we've got some colour plates of humans in the world of Barsaive. The jungle-dwelling Cathan craft lethal arrowheads. No punctuation in there, threw me for a moment. A ceremonial bone knife and eagle sculpture, the tools of Dagani magicians. A troubadour of Galab Klek. We go through these, appearance and dress of the Vorst, and then we've got a brief treatise on the Tuskrang. Now the Tuskrang are lizard people, and they are very, very different to other races. I played a Tuskrang, I played several Tuskrang because I really like the species. They are a very bright and vibrant culture. They like wearing flamboyant clothes. They like wearing bright colours. They are show-offs. Also unique within the Tuskrang culture is that the males are the child bearers, or adopting other males especially, and raising them, where the mothers have no involvement. Because they're a lizard creature, they lay eggs. So Tuskrang actually don't know who their parents are, because the eggs are looked after together. What they do know is who has been assigned to bring them up. On the complexities of village life, so talking through the culture. Tishlayan, so talking about the crew of riverboats, because the Scrang are a swimming species as well. They're slightly aquatic, and they live on boats. They tend to be the traders along the rivers of Barsaive. Unique items of trade. So, fish of surpassing delicacy, basketry of exceeding cunning, fine instruments of writing, the love of art. And then we've got some colour plates showing some Tiskrang next to a river in a cave situation. Elemental water sculpture depicts the legend of the Old Man of the Nets. Cunningly crafted jars hold unique spices magically prepared by the Tiskrang. And then we see a swashbuckling Tiskrang in bright colours, very flamboyant. I absolutely love the species. On the Scrang beyond the Serpent River. On those Tiskrang known as the Pale Ones. We're going through different ones. Of the Tiskrang who can fly, because some Tiskrang have flaps of skin and glide. No, rather than fly, they glide. Their love of language. Customs peculiar, of living in harmony with a tale. Because, as I discovered when I first played as a Tiskrang, when I was fighting, the Games Master was like, oh, you can do a tail strike. And I'm like, what? I've got a tail? And the ways and honours of naming. Because Tiskrang have a name when they are young, but when they grow to maturity, they take another name. Tiskrang rituals at death. Discourse of the subjects of Haralpas. The Tiskrang and the passions. And then Tiskrang reverence for the old ways. And then we're on to the Windlings. So on the nature of Windlings, these small creatures, they live a short time, and they like change. So we've got on Windling appearance and anatomy, on the unique nature of Windling sight, of birth and growth, on the ideals dearest to Windlings, of their love of freedom, the love of living a life of feeling, on the value of change, their diverse Windling customs, of coming of age, of mating and family type, on the ritual of naming, of language and Windling humour, on the curious custom of insult contests, on the pleasant diversion of joke contests, on the wonderful amusements of tall tale competitions. So Windlings like weaving stories, they like telling tales, they like insulting each other, and they like telling jokes. Windling clans and nobles, and diverse Windling arts and crafts. On the crafting of weapons and armour, on the art of tattooing, working metal into jewellery. Now, they're not just pigeonholed, they are an entire culture doing everything all the other cultures do, although they have their unique view of life. The manner of Windlings towards the other name-giver races. So it talks about their view. So the Windling view of dwarves, view of elves, humans, obsidian, orcs. And again, we've got some colour plates here showing Windlings. Windling riding a small, looks like almost a chicken lizard. Windling child begins the ritual of naming. The Windling weaponsmith Ixia crafted this dagger in her own image for Varulus III, king of Thrall. Thrall being the large, dominant dwarven nation. The floral belt of garland worn by questers of the Lisvara clan. Their view of trolls. On the legend of Mragah and its meaning. How Windlings see the Theran Empire. So the Theran Empire is the dominant empire in the world alongside Thrall, and believes in slavery. That's one of the big threats of getting taken as slaves. And then we're on to a section on game information. So we've got things here, role-playing hints, some hints for the elves, the humans, the Tiskrang, different types of Tiskrang, the Windlings. Then we've got disciplines, the magical abilities that the name givers weave into every day. So we've got new disciplines, so durability and thread weaving. We've got the boatman class here for Tiskrang. We've got journeyman, which is a human. We've got the wind dancers, special warriors for Windlings. The windmaster and wind scout. The woodsman. And we've got different new talents. Insect communication, morphism, pilot boat, reed river, scent identifier, wind dance. And they've got the questers. Elves who embrace the spiritual view of the loose followers suffer no game restrictions. We do suggest a consideration for role-playing the character. And we've got Spirithial Glossary, so the language of the Elves. Spirithial being the Elven language in Shadowrun as well, because of course the two worlds are linked. We're going through the different rules, Tiskrang swimming abilities, Windling flight, combat tactics they can use, because of course Windlings might be smaller than other species, but they are far more agile and they have the ability to move in 3 dimensions because they can fly. So their combat can be very different. And we've got a nice index, so we can easily find sections within it if we can remember what they're called. And that is Denizens of Earthdawn Volume 1. An absolutely fantastic book, which I found fleshed out the races so well. As I said, I played Tiskrang quite a lot, and I really valued this into writing my backgrounds because I knew what culture they came from, how they viewed the world very differently to the other races, and I wove it all together to give them an interesting backstory. So that was Denizens of Earthdawn, which won the poll this week on 29%. A clear lead ahead of the second place Bangkok Cesspool of the Orient, which came in on 24%, but had dominated the poll in the early portion. Now I'm glad that Earthdawn won, because it's been ages since I've covered something for Earthdawn, and as I've said in the past, it is one of my favourite fantasy settings. So it was a joy to cover something. In third place came Ultratech 2 on 23% for GURPS. Now that surged up in the last minute, and the last couple of days of the poll it was really coming ahead, and I really wondered if it was going to end up winning. If the poll had gone on longer, perhaps it would have taken over. On 14% was the Dark Tech Sourcebook for Dark Conspiracy, and on only 9% was Triax and the NGR, World Book 5 for Rifts. But as usual, they're all way out of the poll, they're cleared out, and we're going for a retro adventure. So, at the top we have Operation Rapid Strike for Top Secret. A really old role-playing game from the 1980s. This adventure was actually published in 1980 itself. It's their James Bond spy game, so that'd be quite interesting to cover, especially over the Christmas period. We've got The Last Warhulk, also from TSR, but this time from 1998, for their Alternity role-playing game. Now, I've covered the Alternity books before, and I was really impressed what they did. I'd be interested to see if one of their adventures sticks to the high standard of the game. We've got The Last Submarine for Twilight 2000 by Games Designers Workshop from 1988. We've got Nightwalker the Villi Affair for Millennium's End by Chameleon Eclectic in 1991. Now, Millennium's End is one of my favourite role-playing games. The publishing standards were so high, and it really was supported on the internet. It was one of the first games to take advantage of the internet, so I'd love to show you that. And the fifth entry is Out in the Black for the Serenity role-playing game by Margaret Weiss Productions from 2006. It's the most modern game in it. There wasn't much published for the Serenity game because they went on to make it the Firefly role-playing game, but you're interested to see what the adventures are like. On other channel-related stuff, there's not much going on at the moment because where I am is just a couple of days before Christmas, so I'm getting ready for family celebrations and that kind of thing. So I haven't been paying much attention to anything else. As the year goes on, we shall see what happens. Obviously, I'll probably have a gap in my work between Christmas and New Year, and we'll see what we get up to then. But I want to wish you, since this is going to be the first video out in the new year, a very happy new year. 2022 wasn't a great year for me. Obviously, we've talked about things on that on the channel before, but fingers crossed, 2023 will be a much better one. And hopefully it'll be a great year for you too. So I hope to see you throughout the year. Anyway, as usual, I've whittled on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. But as always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.